Hi, I'm Leroy. Welcome back to your favorite channel, Final Scene Story. This time, I'm continuing the Japanese drama titled The Queen's Classroom, episode 10. In this episode, Mrs. Maya is at risk of being fired from her job, and that makes her even stricter toward her students. So, what will happen next? That's why watch this video until the end, and of course, enjoy watching. One morning, Kazumi arrives at class 6-3 and is warmly greeted by her classmates. Everyone looks cheerful, remembering that in the previous episode, they reconciled with their parents. Meanwhile, Mrs. Maya is seen walking toward class 6-3. As usual, when Mrs. Maya arrives, the students greet Mrs. Maya first. Then Hikaru, representing the class, asks Mrs. Maya to reactivate their classroom duty schedule no matter whether their exam scores are good or bad. Hikaru even prints the duty schedule herself, which, of course, has already been agreed upon by everyone. Hearing that request, Mrs. Maya immediately decides to cancel the daily test altogether. Naturally, the students are shocked because that's not what they want. Mrs. Maya thinks that all of them have become lazy since they have gotten along with their parents again. Koichi strongly disagrees, saying that all they want is the class duty schedule. It has nothing to do with test scores. Then Mrs. Maya asks if that's the case, what's the point of studying? Takako answers, to get into a good university. Mrs. Maya asks again, and why do you want to get into a good university? Makoto replies, so we can work at a good company. But Mrs. Maya keeps asking why until no one can answer anymore. Mrs. Maya says that operation still happens even in good companies. Sometimes it's annoying coworkers or even a boss who can fire them anytime. While Mrs. Maya is warning everyone, Kazumi suddenly disagrees. Kazumi says that happiness isn't just about working at a good company. Take Hisako, for example. In the future, Hisako wants to become an artist. And then there is Kenta, who dreams of becoming a footballer. Mrs. Maya says that if Hisako's drawing don't sell, Hisako will probably end up as an assistant doing hard work for very little pay. And if Kenta ever gets injured or plays poorly, Kenta will most likely be benched, and at that moment his career could start to decline or even end completely. That's why Mrs. Maya says it's important to think about the solution to problems they might face in the future. If they don't, Mrs. Maya says that not a single student in class 6-3 will live happily in the future. Then, firmly, Mrs. Maya cancels their daily tests, scattering the test papers everywhere before walking out of class 6-3. After venting her frustration over her students, Mrs. Maya is summoned by the principal and the vice principal to the principal's office. The principal asks Mrs. Maya to act a little more gently towards her students. After all, class 6-3's average scores are good and the students are now on good terms with both their friends and parents. Mrs. Maya asks why they suddenly want her to go easy on the students. The vice principal firmly replies that Mrs. Maya is now being monitored by Japan's Ministry of Education after someone posted a negative comment about her on the ministry's website. That's why both the principal and vice principal asked Mrs. Maya to be a little more lenient toward her students. Hearing that, Mrs. Maya firmly says that she never intends to change her teaching style. After leaving the principal's office, Mrs. Maya is about to continue teaching when Mrs. Tendo suddenly approaches her, worried about Mrs. Maya's position. Mrs. Tendo recently learns that Mrs. Maya once taught at the school where Mr. Tendo, her father, was the principal. In Mr. Tendo's eye, Mrs. Maya was an excellent teacher who truly cared for her students. Even though Mrs. Maya was once sent to a teacher training center, Mrs. Maya actually wasn't the one at fault. Then Mrs. Tendo asks Mrs. Maya what really happened back then since Mr. Tendo refuses to talk about it. Of course, Mrs. Maya doesn't tell her anything either and instead tells Mrs. Tendo to focus on managing her own students. Later, just as Mrs. Maya arrives at the science lab, two students come in late saying they just came from the restroom. Without listening to their usual excuses, Mrs. Maya refuses to let them join the class and sends them out of the laboratory. Hearing that, Kazumi begs Mrs. Maya to let them participate since they were only a little late. Not only Kazumi, Erika and Koichi also try to persuade Mrs. Maya to show them some mercy. But Mrs. Maya refuses, insisting again that her students have all become lazy now that they are getting along with their parents. Then, during lunchtime, when Mrs. Maya sees Kazumi picking out her green peas, Mrs. Maya orders Kazumi to eat them all. Kazumi says she is allergic to peas. Mrs. Maya, knowing it's just an excuse, pushes Kazumi to finish the peas anyway. Not only Kazumi, other students who don't finish their meals are also scolded, and Mrs. Maya threatens to cancel research if anyone dares to waste food. After that, Mrs. Maya confiscates all items unrelated to schoolwork. Since Mrs. Maya has already warned them before, this time Mrs. Maya says she will not return anything. Even Yusuke's small plushie doesn't escape confiscation. Yusuke can only accept it helplessly even though that doll is the only keepsake from his mother. After lunch, Kazumi approaches Mrs. Maya to beg her to return Yusuke's doll. Of course, Mrs. Maya flatly refuses. Then Kazumi asks whether Mrs. Maya's growing harshness has a purpose or not. Kazumi believes that Mrs. Maya's strictness must have a reason. After all, because of Mrs. Maya, the whole class has learned to get along with each other and even with their parents. Instead of answering, Mrs. Maya tells Kazumi not to waste time and to go back to cleaning. Later, before everyone goes home, Kazumi's classmates start complaining about how much stricter Mrs. Maya has become. That naturally makes them lose motivation to come to school again. Hearing their complaints, Hikaru says that the only way to defeat Mrs. Maya is not to show any weakness. The way to do that, Hikaru says, is by coming to class on time, being more diligent than usual, and thinking seriously about their own future. However, for some students in class 6-3, that sounds really difficult to do. Then Yusuke suggests that to make things feel easier, they should force themselves to laugh. Yusuke immediately demonstrates by laughing for no reason, and it works. His laughter becomes contagious. Besides forcing laughter, Yusuke also suggests replacing their usual greeting with the word aloha, because according to Yusuke's grandfather, aloha can mean both hello and goodbye. Since it's easy to say, everyone agrees to use it. Yusuke adds that aloha also has another meaning. Kazumi asks what the meaning is, and Yusuke shyly answers that it also means I love you. Hearing that, Kazumi blushes, feeling like Yusuke just confessed to her, though in a vague and playful way. A few days later in class 6-3, the students are already sitting at their desks even before the school bell rings. They want to prove to Mrs. Maya that they have become stronger people who no longer show weakness. Then, during lunch, many students force themselves to eat all their food. Their friends cheer and encourage them to keep going. Later, when facing difficult lessons, they push themselves to smile until Mrs. Maya finally notices all of their smiles. That night, Kazumi's mother asked her husband for permission to become a working woman at Mrs. Hikaru's office. Kazumi's father forbids it since Kazumi's mother has no work experience at all. Then, Kazumi's mother hands him divorce papers, not because she wants a divorce, but to show how serious she is about wanting to work even if only part-time. After all, Kazumi once said she never wanted to become like her mother when she grows up. Besides Kazumi's words, Kazumi's mother also wants to prove to herself that she is capable of more than just being a housewife. Before Kazumi's father can respond, the doorbell rings, signaling a guest. It turns out the guest is Mrs. Yuriko, the education ministry officer who secretly attended the parent-teacher meeting of class 6-3. Soon after, Mrs. Yuriko meets Kazumi, the student considered the main target of Mrs. Maya's cruelty. Mrs. Yuriko only asks Kazumi yes or no questions. She asks whether Mrs. Maya once refused to let Kazumi go to the restroom during class, and nervously Kazumi answers yes. Then she asks if Kazumi was forced to clean the classroom alone because of her low grades. Kazumi answers yes again. Next, she asks if Kazumi's desk was overmoved outside the classroom because Kazumi refused to attend class on a whole day, and once more Kazumi says yes. Hearing that, Yukanda is shocked because Kazumi never told her any of this. Kazumi's parents are also stunned, never imagining that Mrs. Maya could be that cruel to their daughter. Kazumi tries to explain that Mrs. Maya is actually a good teacher, though sometimes a little too strict. Unfortunately, Mrs. Yuriko doesn't care about Kazumi's defense. Mrs. Yuriko simply excuses herself and leaves. The next morning, Kazumi tells Mrs. Tendo about her meeting with Mrs. Yuriko last night. Mrs. Tendo says that today Mrs. Yuriko will personally observe their class to evaluate Mrs. Maya's teaching. If Mrs. Yuriko gives Mrs. Maya a bad evaluation, there is a high chance that Mrs. Maya will be fired from the school. Hearing that, Kazumi is stunned because Kazumi has already grown fond of Mrs. Maya. When Kazumi arrives in class, her classmates also admit that Mrs. Yuriko visited their homes the previous night. Just like Kazumi, Mrs. Yuriko only asked them yes or no questions before leaving. It seems clear that Mrs. Maya's time at the school is coming to an end. However, Kazumi tries to defend Mrs. Maya, saying that since Mrs. Maya started being strict with them, they have all become more disciplined, wanting to prove her wrong. The others agree, realizing they have indeed become more responsible than before. Then Hikaru suggests that they confirm it directly with Mrs. Maya during class, using Mrs. Yuriko's observation as their chance to ask Mrs. Maya. Before class begins, the vice principal enters and tells the students of class 6-3 that Mrs. Yuriko from Japan's Ministry of Education will be observing today. The students are told to act normal and pretend she isn't there. Soon after, Mrs. Maya enters to begin the lesson while the principal and vice principal watch from outside. Just as class is about to start, Hikaru suddenly raises her hand and asks why they have to study. After all, Mrs. Maya once said that entering a good university or company is meaningless. Mrs. Maya answers firmly that studying isn't something they have simply required to do. It's something they must want to do. Because curiosity and the desire to learn are what separate humans from monkeys or worse. The principal is visibly taken aback by how strong Mrs. Maya's statement is. Then Hisako asks why Mrs. Maya has always been so harsh to them. Mrs. Maya replies that in this world there are many people far crueler than she is. Oppression never disappears as long as there are people who find joy in seeing the weak suffer. That's why Mrs. Maya says they must learn to endure oppression, or better yet, overcome it. Mrs. Maya then says that in this very class there is already one person who has learned to both endure and overcome it. Next, Yusuke raises his hand and asks why Mrs. Maya was sent to the teacher training center even though she's skilled in nearly every subject. Yusuke heard rumors that it happened because Mrs. Maya once hit a student. Without hesitation, Mrs. Maya confirms that it's true, which makes Yusuke immediately ask why. Mrs. Maya explains that the student once asked why is it wrong to end someone's life. The class falls silent in shock, beginning to realize the kind of person Mrs. Maya really is. Mrs. Maya continues, the student she hit was smart, physically strong and athletic. He enjoyed harassing weaker students so much that some of his victims even considered ending their own lives. Without a shred of remorse, the same student once asked her why taking someone's life was wrong. So Mrs. Maya fought him and Mrs. Maya won. Mrs. Maya deliberately gave him pain so that he would understand that every human being has memories, dreams and family. And because of that, no one has the right to hurt others, let alone take a life. Mrs. Maya also reminds her students never to commit any crimes, because no matter what, they will eventually be caught. And even if they somehow escape punishment, it's their own guilt that will torment them until they die. Then Kazumi asks whether Mrs. Maya is actually a good teacher. Kazumi says she once heard that a lion pushes its cubs off a cliff to train them to survive. At that moment, Mrs. Maya snaps at Kazumi to stop talking. Mrs. Maya insists that she has never once thought that what she's done to them was wrong. Hearing that, Mrs. Yuriko immediately stands up and leaves the classroom. No one knows what she's thinking after hearing all that. After school, Kazumi says she no longer cares whether Mrs. Maya is a good teacher or a bad one. For some reason, Kazumi just wants to keep learning from Mrs. Maya together with her classmates from class 6-3. Hearing that, her friends smile, feeling the same way Kazumi does. Meanwhile, in the principal's office, Mrs. Yuriko urges the principal to fire Mrs. Maya as soon as possible. For Mrs. Yuriko, exposing children to the dark sides of life is nothing more than scaring them without purpose. The principal tries to defend Mrs. Maya, but Mrs. Yuriko ignores him. Mrs. Yuriko says she will contact the school again after they decide what action to take against Mrs. Maya. After Mrs. Yuriko leaves, Mr. Namiki, who has been curious, enters the principal's office to ask about Mrs. Maya's situation. The vice principal suggests that if the principal feels too guilty to fire her, he should at least make Mrs. Maya write a resignation letter. The principal gives no response, while Mr. Namiki looks downtrodden by the news. Later that afternoon, after all the students have gone home, Mr. Namiki is about to leave as well when he accidentally finds Mrs. Maya standing motionless inside class 6-3. Realizing Mrs. Maya wants to be alone, Mr. Namiki quietly turns to leave without disturbing her. But just as Mr. Namiki walks away, Mrs. Maya suddenly collapses to the floor, weak and faint. Luckily, Mr. Namiki notices and rushes back to help Mrs. Maya. And that's the end of episode 10's recap. What do you think about this episode? Tell me your thoughts in the comments, I will be reading them later. Thank you for watching until the end and see you in the next video. Bye!